views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for coming today. As always, your attendance is appreciated. And this being the last Borough Board and Service Cabinet meeting of the year, I think it's appropriate that we, the Borough President's Office, thank you for this year, this wonderful year of cooperation, this wonderful year of fellowship and working together for common purposes. And we look forward to another year of equally productive events and moving forward in the community. And I, again, want to thank everyone for being here. And I want to make sure that we just run into 2020, which promises to be very busy on all fronts, and promises to be very productive here in the Bronx. As we normally do, I'd like to start out with introductions. I am Marika Scott McFadden, and I'm the Deputy Borough President of God's Country, the Bronx.
Tom Lucania, Director of Community Boards.
Assistant District Manager, CB9.
Rosemary Kinsey, Chair, Community Board 8.
Kira Gannon, District Manager, Community Board 8.
Manuel Martinez, Chair, Community Board 7.
Good morning, everyone. I'm still Ken Brown, the Chair, District Manager of Board 5.
Paul Phillips, District Manager, Community Board 4.
Good morning, Ralph Acevedo, Bronx Community Board 2.
Karina Duarte, New York City Emergency Management.
Miguelina Aristi, Director of Integral Small Business Services.
Josué Melendez, Department for the Aide.
Marion Williams from Robinson Schools.
Ken Gifford, Wellness Schools. And Ricardo Diaz, Wellness Schools.
And last but not least, thank you again. Thank you. Pursuant to Chapter 4, Section 85, and Chapter 69, Section 2706 of the New York City Charter, a joint meeting of the Bronx Borough Service Cabinet and Bronx Borough Board will take place here today, Thursday, December 19th, 2019, in the Rotunda at 851 Grand Concourse. In keeping with the agenda for today, we'll start with Department of City Planning. They'll discuss and talk about the launch of the Land Use Participant Portal. I think we're all set up here. David Parrish, Director of Business Improvement and Fiscal Affairs.
Good morning. We're very excited to be in the Bronx, so thank you for having us. My name is David Parrish, and I'm here with Hannah Cates, who's the product owner from Planning Labs, who built some of the wonderful tools we're going to talk about. Carol Samuel, our director of the Bronx office, is also here, and Veronica Popsis, who's a very important person for the land use portal. She will be the main point of help and contact. And so, Veronica, could you give everyone a wave? So, how many of you have used the zoning application portal? Couple hands. Last year, we launched ZAP, or the Zoning Application Portal, to show land use applications across New York City. Can you open the PowerPoint? What? Oh, okay. The Zoning Application Portal is intended to show what is in the land use process, what's current, what's been filed, what's in public review, and what's been completed. This is part of an ongoing multi-year effort to bring more transparency to this process, which Carol has been advocating for some time. ZAP, which is on the screen here, can be accessed at zap.planning.nyc.gov. It is a website that allows you to see all of these projects on a map, to search for them, and to find information about their milestones, their actions, and their environmental review. Today, we're going to talk about a phase of this project intended to be for land use participants, for district managers and borough presidents. It's called the Land Use Participant Portal. We just launched this week, and this is a tool that we hope all of you can use to submit public hearing recommendations and to submit public hearing notices so that the public can see them all in one place on one website. So this is something that you can log into, you can advertise your hearing on it, and you can post your recommendation, and those things will happen instantly. The next phase of this project is to have applicants submit online so that we can post application materials online, which I know is a long-running request of many. So that is the work that we're going to be doing this winter, spring, into the summer. So first, we want to give you a brief overview of ZAP, the public-facing site, and then we'll log into the land use portal and give you a brief overview of what kinds of features and things you can see in that portal. It was very important to us that as we went about designing this, we actually worked with district managers and with borough president land use directors to come to a sense of what do you want to see, what is most important, so we could design a tool that was helpful and impactful and will guide you through the land use process. So Hannah is going to show us a couple of things in the zoning application portal, again, the public site, and then we're going to log into the land use participant portal and show you some of the features there.
All right, can you hear me okay? Sure. So this is the public view of the zoning application portal, where you can search through all of the current active land use applications as well as historic land use applications if you want to refer back to projects that have finished through the public review process. So by default, we have a filter applied that just shows you the projects that are currently filed, recently filed land use applications, and projects that are going through the public review process right now. So that's what this project stage filter at the top is showing. And the results of that filter are shown on the right. So there are about 285 projects right now in those two categories. But if you wanted to filter to see historic projects, you would change the checkboxes here to include completed in the project stage. There is also a text match search where you can search for certain keywords of a certain project name that you're looking for, a certain ULURP number, a developer name, different keywords that might be available in the project description. And so you can narrow down your search that way. We also have different geographic filters that you can apply. So you can filter by borough, you can filter by community district to narrow down to all the projects within your domain. So an example of selecting for a community district, in here you can either select from the menu or you can actually type into that box and start typing Bronx and select one, and it will narrow down to, I think right now we're seeing all the completed projects in Bronx 8. So if you click on any one of these projects, you can then get much more detail about them. I think we just need to zoom out a little. There we go. Not that one. This one. Is this one okay? This one. Okay. So this project profile at a glance gives you high-level detail about the project, which complements the currently on paper application materials. So this gives you a summary, and this is also what the public sees as far as them understanding these projects. So there's a map in the top right which shows you the project area. It includes the applicant team description of who's applying for this project, a brief description providing detail about the project and what it's proposing. Information about, like, if it has to go through the seeker process, it links out with that unique ID so that you can look up additional information from the mayor's office of environmental coordination. You can also see all of the individual zoning actions, and where it's referring to a specific zoning resolution, this actually links out to the zoning resolution section where you can get more information about it. And I think one big highlight of this profile is the milestone timeline, which is what you're seeing here in the middle, where it shows you where the project currently is in the entire application lifecycle, starting with the initial date of application filing, as it progresses through the different phases of application preparation, as it gets certified, as it moves through community board review, borough president review, and so on. And inside of each of those different review periods, for example, community board review, since this one is just now reaching that phase, we're not showing details yet. But within these review milestones, we will be posting the public hearing information and the final recommendations that you'll be ideally submitting through this new application functionality. So all of that information will be shared with the public through these public profiles. Yeah, so you can also use this share project feature to copy a link to send someone directly to this project page. So if someone emails you inquiring about a specific project, you could send them this link to help them get additional information. Yeah, and you can also report data issues. So if you are very familiar with a project and you know that the certain project details are wrong when you look at this, you can report a data issue to us, to the Department of City Planning, that we will then investigate and fix. So there's this little form that you fill out, and it will go straight into our queue for data quality control. So now we'll walk you through the new functionality that we have just launched. And it's still very much in the testing phase. We want you to start logging in and testing to make sure that you can actually get into the system. And we want your feedback as you begin to use this tool. So in the top right here, you'll see that there's a sign-in button. This is available on the same public portal. So if you click sign in, it gives you a little prompt here that provides more instruction about how to log in. So there are two different ways to log in. You can log in as a New York City employee, which is the easiest option if you just use your nyc.gov email. Or if you would really prefer not to do that, you can create a brand new account using the system called NYC ID that DoIT runs, and log in through that, which requires a little more setup. So I'll show you what it looks like to log in as a New York City employee. And for this, you just use your regular logon credentials that you would use to log into email with your nyc.gov. It's all the same linked city employee login. So once you log in, it redirects you back into ZAP, the Zoning Application Portal, in a special view that's just for you. So I personally am not a community board district manager, so I don't have any projects assigned to me, which is why it says that I currently have no projects. So we're going to switch over to showing you a testing site that's filled with dummy projects so we can show you the functionality. So let me zoom in a little more. So there are 4 different tabs that you'll see when you log into the app. So by default, we land on the To Review tab. This is your to-do list. These are the projects that are currently right now in the community board review milestone that either need you to submit hearing details about them or submit your final recommendation. So for each of these, we provide a really clear deadline. We give you a countdown of how many days are left in your review period and exactly when it ends. And from here, you can click on one of these project headers, which will take you to the same public profile that everyone else sees. Or you can move ahead with actually submitting details. Before we walk through that process of filling out the forms, I want to show you the other tabs. So the design of this application was based on user research that we did, reaching out to a sample of community boards. And we found out that a lot of community boards want, additional, this won't be a surprise to any of you, I'm sure, that a lot of community boards want more early notice of when projects are coming their way. They feel really rushed during that 60-day review period, and they want to be able to prepare a little more. So we've created an upcoming tab in this app where you can keep track of those projects as soon as they're filed, so you can see what's coming in the pipeline that you will need to review, but projects that haven't entered your review period yet. So that's what shows up here on the upcoming, and we provide an estimate of when we think public review will begin, since that's always a little fuzzy based on how quickly the application progresses. We also heard that community boards often feel like it's kind of a black box after they submit their recommendation, where it's hard to track down details of when all the subsequent public hearings are occurring, what the outcome of those different hearings and recommendations are. And so we're providing another tab here called Reviewed, which are projects that are still actively moving through the public review process so that you can easily isolate them and keep track of progress on them. And so for each of these, there's a little milestone timeline on the right where you can see exactly where that project is as it continues to move through the process, and which the outcomes of those different reviews will also be displayed here, of whether City Council approved something or voted against it. We also provide an archive. So these are projects that are completely done with the entire review process. They're complete. But if you want to refer back to them because you're getting a similar application now to see what the outcome was on a previous one, you can check them out here on this archive tab and search for old projects. So back here on the To Review tab, this is where you will take action. So let's say that for this SIPES LLC rezoning, we want to go ahead and post the community board hearing notice. So you have the option of either submitting one hearing for the entire project or submitting individual hearings for each zoning action. So if it's a larger, more contentious project where you want to give individual attention to each of the actions, you have the option to submit multiple hearings. And these questions all mimic the same paper form that you're filling out right now. So we just want to know where that hearing is located. You can enter in additional details about it beyond the address of like instructions of how to enter the building or where exactly in the building it is. We're not going to fix your typos for you, unfortunately. And one integration that we're working with DCAS on, it's not implemented yet, but we're in the early stages of trying to test this out with them, is that when you submit this form, it would not only go to City Planning's database, it would also get sent to the City Record online. So that you would only be sending one notice, and it would go to both places. So we have this confirmation screen here where you can check those details and make sure that they're correct, which would be especially important if this is both going to be the official notice to City Planning and to the City Record online. And one important thing to note is that once you submit those hearing details, you won't be able to edit them yourselves. You would need to reach out to City Planning, to Veronica, who will be the most likely the one to help you out, to have those details changed if there's some kind of rescheduling issue. So once you've submitted that hearing, it then shows up here as kind of a confirmation receipt on that project card, reminding you when you've scheduled that hearing for. And once that's submitted, you can now also view it on the public profile. So this is a good example of what the public would see so that more people can get involved and attend those hearings and keep track of when they're occurring. So on the milestone timeline on the project profile, we nest in this little public hearing sub-milestone. So now you can submit the recommendation. And here we're asking the same questions that you've been filling out. So was there a quorum present at your hearing? We remind you of which hearing that was exactly. And here you also have the option of either submitting one recommendation for the entire project or individual recommendations for each zoning action. So one thing that we're interested to get people's feedback on is how we then share these recommendations back with the public. So currently on the public profiles, we just have a little block of text that says that it was approved with conditions or disapproved with conditions. And we also link to a PDF of the letter that you submit. Mm-hmm. So here we're now going to be able to allow you to capture more concise thoughts on different parts of your recommendation. So there's a comment box here that allows you to refer to specific sections of that letter that you attach, because sometimes those can be pretty lengthy if it's a complicated project. And so in addition to uploading the file, as David's showing now, you can also include a comment about an individual zoning action that provide your high-level thoughts on it, or help refer users to specific sections of the letter that are relevant to that action. So this comment box is kind of up to you of how you think it would be most useful, but it's meant to kind of capture more high-level thoughts. And so those comments are something that we're maybe interested in sharing with the public if you feel like those would be useful. But at this point, we're just going to share more high-level outcomes from these milestones. And the full documents that you upload. So again, you're going to get a confirmation screen. Once you submit this, you won't be able to edit it yourself. So it's important to double check this, make sure that everything looks correct. And then once you submit, you get a thank you. And since this is dummy data, the project is still here, but in real life, this project will move over to the reviewed tab. So one thing has been moved off of your to-do list, and you can then follow it on the reviewed tab.
Sorry. So our next phase is to begin work on the Applicant Portal so that we can capture application materials online to share with you through the Land Use Portal. But we wanted to make this feature available so that we can get more people involved in the land use process by making them aware of hearings that are coming up and getting the community board and borough president's recommendations on projects out there as quickly as possible. So with that, this is available for you to use today. The flyer that I handed out on the back side has the email addresses that we've used. Each community board and borough president has one login. These are the email addresses that we were given, so if they were incorrect, please let us know. We're happy to change them, and we'll loop in the borough president's offices so they're aware of that. Our Bronx office is also willing to hold a training for those of you who want more information and actually want to sit and practice and get assistance in doing this. So with that, if there are any questions, I'll return it to the chair.
Good morning.
Correct.
So last year, the council did discuss a permit for hotel. This also would be part of it. It's my understanding that would be very similar to the land use application.
So special permits do come before the City Planning Commission, so they will be in here. The council is a part of this process. So when we looked at that, the third tab, the reviewed tab, after stuff leaves your court and the borough president's court and goes to the city council, we've talked to them. They have actually said that they will submit hearing dates through the system. They will not submit their resolutions at this time. So we're working with them to try and get that. We're trying to convince them that it's a good idea to have all this stuff in one place to make it easy for everybody to find. But special permits, because folks will be reviewing them, will appear in the portal. BSA applications, though, will not, for example.
Thank you, Madam Deputy. When an application comes to the board, we need to advertise it, like in the city record.
Yeah.
Is this replacing that, or do we still need to advertise it?
So at this moment, no, but we are working with the city record so that when you submit through this portal, it will trigger an email to them with all the information they need. So we're working with them to do that. They're very excited about it. We knew that in building this, we want to make your lives easier as district managers. We didn't want to add a step. And so that's our highest priority sort of next step for this page, is to trigger that automatically.
Any other questions? Yes.
I think it's probably better with the microphone, is it? I didn't hear everything clearly that you were saying, but I think you pointed out a section that had advance notice of items coming up because community boards, as you say, want advance notice of these items. In November, there was a charter change requiring advance notice. My question is this what you're proposing? Is that meant to meet the requirements of the charter change, or is there something in addition you're doing to meet the requirements of that charter change?
So it's my understanding that is still being worked out with City Hall. What I do know from being a planner and working with community boards and working in this process, that timeline is always really tight. Something certified referred, you have your days to receive it, you're scheduling hearings, you're getting all the materials out to people. It's a lot of work. So for right now, that upcoming tab will have all filed applications, land use, environmental review, or environmental impact statement scopes. So anything that's been formally filed will appear on that list.
But that's not meant to be the advance notice as anticipated in the charter change.
I'm just not aware of what that will be.
Okay.
Yeah, I wish I knew.
Anyone else? Well, we thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
We'll see you again soon. Moving right along in our agenda, our next presenter will be Giselle Vargas from Troop 6000, Program Manager, Girl Scouts of Greater New York. There's no obvious signs of cookies.
Sorry, soon. The girls just started selling them again.
Okay, so while she gets set up, I just actually want to mention something that's happening simultaneously to this meeting, which is the Borough President's Hanukkah celebration and menorah lighting, which is actually, as I said, happening just as we speak at the Riverdale Y and YWHA. If you happen to have mastered the ability to be in two places at one time, or you want to just head over to this event that began at 9:30. The program itself begins at 10, and I'm sure they'll be happy to have you join us there at the Borough President's Menorah and Lighting Ceremony. Look at that perfect time.
All right, good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Giselle Burgess. I'm the Troop 6000 Program Manager for the Girl Scouts of Greater New York, and I'm also the visionary behind Troop 6000. Just some context behind who I am. Back in 2015, my children and I found ourselves homeless and ended up in a New York City shelter system. During that time, I was already working for Girl Scouts of Greater New York, and my job was to start new troops, So I went back to Girl Scouts and asked, would it be okay for me to start a troop at the shelter? Of course, with the amazing support of Girl Scouts of Greater New York, our good friend Heidi Schmidt, who is now our director, who used to work for DHS, and the Mayor's Fund as well, we were able to expand the program and create Troop 6000 for girls all over New York City. So a little bit about Troop 6000. Troop 6000 really is just the girls getting together, finding some sense of belonging, some consistency in their lives, sense of community as well. So we're providing them the same type of Girl Scouting program that we would provide in a traditional troop, just the girls are actually living at where they're meeting, which is their site locations. The big idea for women is connecting them to leadership opportunities and giving them the feeling of feeling empowered, give them the opportunity to have some access to things that they probably wouldn't have access to. So we've seen a lot of great progress with the girls and the women in the program, and it's beneficial to everyone. We also recommend fathers join. We have some fathers who are troop leaders as well, so we're really welcome to have them come along. So anyone who is actually in the shelter or community volunteers are more than welcome to volunteer with the girls. And so the girls are hosting weekly meetings, they're earning badges, they're going camping, they're selling cookies, they're getting out there, they're working on civic advocacy. That's one of the major things that we've noticed with our girls. They're very eager to do that, especially when it comes to breaking that stigma of homelessness and being able to give back to others in their community as well. So it's very important for them to have access to those type of programs. So anyone who also has any ideas of how the girls can give back to the community, please let me know. You actually have 4 locations located in the Bronx. So we wanted to let you know that our presence is here. We are here. Our girls are eager to meet you. They're eager to give back and volunteer as well. So if there's any garden opportunities, park cleanups, anything that they can do to give back during their time here in the Bronx, they're more than happy to do that. So everybody loves Troop 6000, of course. From the New York Times front page when we first started, to selling cookies and beating their 6,000 box goal by actually selling 32,000 boxes of cookies the first time they sold, to Jimmy Fallon, for those of you who remember the ugly sweater, I actually still have it. And then our girls are actually doing Urban Day Camp. They've been on Teen Vogue as well. So they're really getting out there. They're making their presence known. They're trying to leave their print on the world, and we're really excited to help them do that. So by the numbers, right now we're actually operating in 20 shelters in all 5 boroughs, with our newest ones for the Bronx is actually on Cortona Parkway, so that's our newest location for you guys. We are serving over 1,000 women and girls in Troop 6000 in all 5 boroughs, and we have 59 active volunteers at this moment. We've had 111 girls transition out of shelter, out of which 45 girls have stayed connected with Girl Scouting. We have a transition coordinator on staff, and her job is to make sure that she's keeping contact with the girls. Of course, the main goal is to get out of the shelter. So we're making sure that we're providing those resources as well to families. And once they're out, we're staying connected. We're sending them gift baskets. We're keeping in touch with them. We're connecting them with traditional troops. And we offer the girls 2 years support even after they've transitioned out of the shelters until their parents are financially stable. So we're still paying for their membership, their uniforms, any trips that they want to do. We're making sure that we're taking care of the girls. We have a licensed clinical social worker on staff, and she's been very beneficial to the program. And she hosts trauma-informed care workshops for our staff, for camp staff as well. And we've also trained troop leaders, and 84 people in total have been trained all 7 sessions so far. So how you can support hosting a Troop 6000 community event. Every year we have a large event called World Thinking Day. That's in February. We usually have about over 600 girls and women come together. The girls are working on projects where they're learning about different countries and their cultures, and what women and girls their situations are in their environments, and trying to find what issues they may be facing and trying to come up with ways to advocate for the women and girls in other countries. So it's kind of like a science fair setup. The girls are creating this board that has all this information in the country they studied. They're doing their Take Action project. We usually have food from all around the world delivered. It's a beautiful event. If you're interested in attending, we'd love for you to come and see our girls in action. It's really fun. But we do look for large locations for venues. We've been in the Brooklyn already. We've been in Harlem, and we're more than happy to come bring it to Bronx this year if anyone has any huge locations that we can use. Becoming a volunteer too. We definitely need volunteers. There's over 12,000 girls who are living in the New York City shelter system right now that are in Girl Scouting age. And we would love to be able to serve all of them. It's easy to get the girls, but we need the leaders. Without the volunteers, there is no way for us to be able to target all these locations. So becoming a volunteer. For our volunteers, we have them clear a background check. They're attending a Troop 6000 leader training. We can actually do it at our office on Wall Street, or we do site trainings as well, so we can go out to the sites as long as you have more than 5 people who are willing to be trained. Each leader we're expecting them to be able to lead 1 day a week, same day for that location, every week for an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on that site and what your availability is. And the way we have it set up is we have 5 leaders per site, so that it's not so stressful as well on our volunteers in the event that someone can't make it. They have other things that are going on in life. There's 4 other women or 4 other leaders that are there to step in if someone needs to step out for a while. So our fiscal year goals, we're trying to reach 750 girls, supporting them in achieving their Bronze, Silver, and Gold Award, which are the highest awards that you can receive in Girl Scouting. Our Gold Award is equivalent to an Eagle Scouting Award. In my opinion, I think better. But it looks great on college applications. It looks great on work applications as well. So we definitely want to be able to help the girls. And what those awards are, they're supposed to identify an issue or a need in their communities and find a sustainable way to make improvements or to help that cause. So that's what they need to do in order to earn those awards. Providing leader enrichment through troop leader roundtables. We've been hosting roundtables every 2 months where we have all of our volunteers come together, we feed them, we break bread together, kind of sit down and figure out what are their struggles that they're having with their troops, what advice do they need, what tips do they need, and we kind of just parking lot it out, find some solutions together, do some activities so that this way that they feel that they've taken something away from the roundtable and that it's easier for them to be able to lead their troops. We received a $3,500 grant from the Manhattan Borough President's Office to establish our mental health group for Troop 6000 parents and girls, and it's going absolutely great. Of course, more funding for that would be absolutely amazing. There are so many parents that we're trying to serve, and our parents are coming in, and they're receiving we're receiving a lot of great feedback from them, how beneficial it was for them to have that training, and how important it is for them, especially during this time and this situation, this season in their lives, to have that support and to know that they're not the only ones facing these challenges and that there's a way to get through it. And then to connect with more transitioning girls. So definitely want to be able to keep in contact with all of our girls who are moving out. Girl Scouting is really important in a girl's life, and we want to make sure that even after they've transitioned out of the shelter, that they know that we're here and that they still matter and that their voices and actions matter as well. So we want to be able to keep in contact with them for that. And then so special events, our next event is a workplace visit January 20th. Our girls are actually going to Columbia University where they'll be meeting with astronomers and they'll be doing a whole bunch of different activities, learning about the stars, the moon, and being able to look through the telescope at Columbia. They'll do some hands-on activity, get to ask questions, speak to a panel of women and students who are there, who are working and who are students there, and kind of get the girls ready to think about what the work field is going to be like as they get older. So this is for our older girls who are in junior high school and up. February 22nd is our World Thinking Day event. Again, if you have any venues, please let me know. And then late April, our Troop 6000 cookie sale starts again at Kellogg's, which is located in Union Square. So we really hope to see you out. Please spread the word. You'll definitely see it on our social media or on TV. The girls will be out there trying to get as many people in as possible. And where that money goes into is it goes right back into the Troop 6000 program. So the girls are selling cookies to be able to give other girls who are in this situation the opportunity to join Troop 6000 as well. And then our Mother's Day event. Every year we host a Mother's Day event where we're inviting all Troop 6000 moms to the office. They get a full makeover, hair done, nails done, new wardrobe, makeup, and they just feel so beautiful, and it's great for us. It's very heartwarming to see the moms feel so joyful. Even if it's just for that day, they definitely are very, very grateful for it. So we do offer that to every single mom that comes in. And then here's our contact information. Heidi Schmidt is our director, myself, the program manager. Jessica Bartlett is our transition coordinator. Valerie Weaver is our licensed clinical social worker. And Tamara Patterson is our administrative assistant. And that is my presentation. Thank you so much. Any questions or concerns? Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Brown.
Ms. Burgos, thank you very, very much. Not only was this an inspirational presentation, but you've reaffirmed my enthusiasm and appreciation of the Girl Scouts. I've frequently, in previous employments, have had dealings with the Girl Scouts, and they consistently impress me with your sensitivity, initiative, and creativity. And what you've done and what the Scouts have done in New York City through this program is really vital, and I'm very impressed. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Two things. One is, how do we get a troop in our district? I'd like you to come out if the shelters in my district are amenable to it. I'd like you to come out and present. And then for fundraising, because I've spent most of my career in shelters, one of the biggest barriers to participating in events is access to resources, in particular Metro cards for traveling. So does the Girl Scouts do fundraising that is dedicated to Troop 6000? And what kind of flexibility is there in fundraising for the troop?
So right now, our fundraising, you can go online. If you go online to girlscoutsnyc.org/donate, there is a section where you're able to select Troop 6000 to donate money for that. We do have a fundraising team that does go out. The majority of our funds are coming in from the Mayor's Fund and from Department of Homeless Services. And then selling the cookies is the next big fundraiser for the girls. Other than that, we do have troops that will sell cookies and then donate their proceeds back to Troop 6000, which we appreciate, but we can always use some more ideas for fundraising and more outreach.
I'm sorry, if you don't mind. What I meant is, as Girl Scouts as a corporation, do they have dedicated fundraising that they address and target to Troop 6000 specifically, or is Troop 6000 folded into the general fundraising that the corporation does?
Folded into general fundraising,
I see.
yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, you're welcome.
Any other questions or comments for the Girl Scouts? George? Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, next up is an overview of Wellness in Schools program presented by Marion Williams, Chef and Senior Program Director of Wellness in Schools. Thank you for coming.
Good morning, everyone. Once again, I am Marion Williams, and I work for Wellness in the Schools. I've been with them for just about 10 years at this moment, and I'm recently been asked to speak in quite a few different avenues about school lunch reform and school programs that relate directly to lunch, and I'm really most excited to be here. As a Bronx native, this is hometown, asked me to come back to speak and represent my organization. We're a small nonprofit that I joined just about 9 or 10 years ago as a volunteer, and just ended up staying there, working with the students and schools and also the communities. Really excited about being here to speak to you today. I want to thank the Borough President's Office for inviting me here today, and our wellness champion, especially Paul Phillips, who also introduced us to the Borough President's Office to come here and speak about our program. I have some notes here just so I can remember to say everything. I was really excited about getting here to speak to you today about this program that's been in the Bronx for about 10 years. As a volunteer, I was one of the first people to bring the program into the Bronx. And the program started in 2005 a small group of women, mothers in schools, in New York City public schools, decided that they wanted to have a little more of a say about what their students ate at lunchtime. So they created this organization that would work alongside the DOE, school food at that time, and work a little bit more with the kitchen and changing the landscape of food. So my integration into this program as a volunteer was to bring healthier foods to the schools in the Bronx. One of the reasons that that was important to me is because I understood that we were one of the groups and cities in the United States that was struggling with childhood obesity and also rates of high blood pressure, if you could imagine, of younger people, people under 20 years old, type 2 diabetes, children in elementary schools, and other autoimmune diseases that we don't frequently hear happen to children that are in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. So it was really important for me as a chef to come back and see what I could do in my community, especially since this organization felt that they were ready to expand into the Bronx. So I was really excited to come back to work with them to see if I could make a difference. And so one of the things that we did was we went to the principals to speak and find out if they had any wellness programs actually happening in their schools, because part of this change comes with advocacy. If you don't have a group of advocates in the program when you enter into a school, then the program isn't sustainable. And so it becomes an issue with one-off type organizations coming through. We are partnering organization with the school, with the community, with the parents, and with the teachers, because we want to really service the whole child. We know that in serving that whole child in the school, we have to make sure that everyone that works with that child is educated into health and wellness. You can change. So currently, when I started in 2010, there was only 5 schools that we were in. Currently, we are actively working in 23 schools in the Bronx as an active program. We have 33 additional programs that we work with the Office of Food and Nutrition Services through the Bronx Plan initiative that is headed by the Chancellor. And we are looking to change the full landscape of lunch in our public schools in New York City. So I'm very excited that we have an active program right now working in the Bronx. I want to say that I have some people here that advocate with me on a regular basis. They walk with me. They look like me somewhat. They certainly have my same uniform. I have Chef Kent there. He's a liaison in 5 or 6 schools just in this neighborhood. I have Chef Kathy with me. I have our chef, Ricardo Diaz. He is also our resident registered dietitian. And he also helps us with our menu development when we go to Long Island City to help them change the food. Because one of the things that we're looking for is making sure that the food is something that's relatable to our community. So we are looking for foods that our students can walk up to the counter and find things that they know. A lot of times the students say to me, Chef, I don't eat those beans, or I don't understand that. That's not gandules. Our neighborhood, we need foods that we can understand. And so what we're trying to do with OFNS is work on the menu development and also get different foods that they can access, foods that they understand when they come to the lunch line. Change the stigma of what food lunch is. We're so happy to have free lunch in New York City. It is something that is just amazing. I'm working with this nonprofit that is now national, and there's so many cities in the United States that don't have free lunch and still have the work with that stigma of lunch and the lunch lady, and just leaves a lot of our students hungry. We know that some of the students in our schools will eat a lunch on a Friday, and that may be the last full comprehensive meal they'll have for the weekend until they come back to school on Monday. And it's very important. They will eat other things during the weekend, but they may not have a full meal. So it's important for us to bring extra foods. And one of the things we do is make sure that we have great salad bars in our school. So if you want to have an idea of what it is that we do, we have 40% more of our students through our education program are actually eating more fruits and vegetables. And so we want to see more fruits and vegetables, especially in the Bronx. We want to see that in our schools. We don't want to know that someone else has that our students can't see. A lot of times our children will get peaches and they've only seen them in a can. So that education that we give them in the classroom and also in the cafeteria opens their mind to the possibilities of other foods. So some of the things that we do in our flagship program, we have a 3-year model where we work in the school, we'll go in the classroom, we work with the students, we're working with the parents after school with workshops, and we also work with the community because the community cares a lot about what happens in the school too. What happens with those students when they're in the classroom is very, very important to our communities also. We all know that it takes a village to raise a child, and that hasn't changed at all. Cook camps, we also do. That is our training program where we train the OFS staff in the kitchen. We will train them for 3 days outside of their kitchen at a separate location, and you'll see some pictures of that, on how to best present the food to our students, communicate to our students, and why we need to make this food change. We also have regular individual workshops for our family. You can go ahead. Here's a list of things we have. Our WITS Cafe. WITS Cafe is our party for our students. We're going to bring in an outside chef, local chef. We're going to bring in celebrity chefs. Recently, J.J. Johnson is signed on to be one of our chefs, and we're so excited to have a young African-American man working with us side by side so that the students get to see what they could possibly be, but also speak to someone that is a community-born child also. J.J. Johnson comes in and speaks a little bit more about how he raised up through this same public school system as our schools and our students. We have our WITS labs, WITS Bits, and our community wellness support. That is our community meetings that we get everyone together so we can talk about the different changes that we like to see in our schools and in the classroom. You can go ahead. Here is just an example of some of the things that we do when we have our salad party. Kids love to eat new, fresh, interesting things. One of the things I always tell the children is that if you eat something new, you'll travel the world. And one of the things, if you think that you're going to eat chicken nuggets and French fries all over the world, you're going to end up hungry because there isn't a lot of that available in the other side of the world. So we do try to focus a little bit more on expanding their palate. Because they are young and they are open to that. This is an idea of where we're trying to go as far as having, you have Meatless Monday in New York now, so this would give you an example of what a Meatless Monday plate would look like in a Wellness in the School. And it's basically a plant-based plate. Mm-hmm. This is what our cook camp looks like. So we take the cooks, the assistant managers to ICE in Manhattan, and we take them there for 3 days. We go over the recipes that we'd like to implement, and we work together. We also give them professional development for themselves. Many of these head cooks have been in these schools 15 to 20 years without their own selves getting an opportunity to speak about how their experience is every single day. They are community leaders also for these students. They look to these people every single day. They trust them to feed them. And so we want them to be able to communicate to those students also. In addition, of course, we love to have pictures of our students. If they like the food, we take a lot of votes. We ask them, do you try it? Would you like it? Would you try it again? And so the students really love that way of giving us their juicy chef words of whether they like something, because we don't understand ill or yuck or that kind of thing. So they can tell us something that they like about the food. We have also an example of what our salad bars look like. We don't just want to open up cut vegetables and throw them out. We want to teach our students to eat composed salads and understand what it's like to eat things with healthier dressings, eat things and develop a palate with things with healthy vinaigrettes and not just heavy mayonnaise, creamy type dressings that a lot of times upset their stomachs anyway, because in some of our communities, there are problems with lactase. And so we know that this is an opportunity for the students to expand their palate once again. Then in our WITS labs, we cook with the students. We cook a dish with them, and then we eat it at the end of that lab. So what does that do? That attaches a student to the recipe. Those recipes, they will now see downstairs in the cafeteria. So that's another way that we expand the knowledge of the program. This is the students, once again, at a cooking lab. And the WITS Bits. These WITS Bits are those nutrition lessons that we get an opportunity to go into the classroom and reinforce why we don't want the students drinking sodas for breakfast, why it is that chips are really not the thing to eat on the lunch line before you have your lunch, how to have the proper snacks during the break that we're coming up on. So it's very, very important for them to understand that. We also have a Coach for Kids program. Our Coach for Kids program is one that helps to reduce the bullying on the schoolyard. It is also to get the least active students active. It is teaching students in how to play together, how to socialize in a organized way. So we have our coaches. Right now, we have students that are in the master's program at Adelphi University that are working in our schools for 2 years. And they're being funded for their last 2 years of their master's in order to work with our students. And they get an opportunity to practice what they're learning in school themselves. And the students love them, of course. They have a lot of great energy. This is just a highlight of what we have with our coach program. Our coaches also do a workshop with the school lunch aides because they are in the cafeteria also with the students, and they don't always know how to conduct recess, especially on a day like today. What do we normally see in the school? Students are in the school, they're watching a movie. And so there could be days after days in New York City that you're watching a movie if you don't have active play on the inside. So we're going to bring play on the inside of the school, even though there's bad weather on the outside, okay? We also have our movement in the classroom. We bring that, especially during testing time. We're getting ready in January and February to have a lot of testing. It's a stressful time for everyone in the school. Our coaches will come into the classroom and do some wellness breathing and decompression for everyone, including the students and the teachers. It is just something, it's a real heavy, heavy atmosphere in the school. So we're thinking about the whole child during the day. We also bring tower gardens into our program because if you grow it, you'll eat it. And so we have hydroponic tower gardens in quite a few of our schools, and we were really lucky enough in the Bronx for me to get tower gardens in 18 of my Bronx schools through a Newman's Own grant, which was really amazing. And the students get a chance in 10 to 15 days to see something they've planted grow hydroponically. So that's really exciting. We have a lot of great partners that work with us. Blue Apron has, in this neighborhood, adopted 4 of our schools. And what they do, this young team of young chefs from Brooklyn actually come up to our schools and they give a food party for all the students. Recently, they just brought them a apple quinoa muffin so that the students could eat it, and they just loved it, and they made it with apple butter. So just exposing students to things like that is so much fun, and they give us the recipes to give to our parents. This is me working with one of our interns. We have interns from Bronx Community College that are nutritional dietetic interns, and also this is my Daisha Tell, who is actually a Lehman College intern. Every year we try to expand our program and bringing in the future interns that are out there. They're trying to see where they want to go with their history of their studying. And so it's really exciting. This is one of our really awesome days, a play day and family fitness fun night. It's the one night that we get the families together, 2 hours, 45 minutes of workout with the families and the students. And then we get together and have a party. We have a family-style dinner together, but after that 45-minute workout, the parents can go and do their own workout with Zumba. We have rooms with yoga. We have karate, and we also have our soccer play, and everyone gets a chance to move. But the biggest part of it is we get a chance to bring the family together. And every school loves it, and it's one of those opportunities that we've missed many, many days because the family doesn't get a chance to get together many, many times, to have dinner together and do something socially together. So it is a program that we bring to the school, and every school looks forward to it every year. This is us and Mr. Phillips with us in the morning, 7:30 in the morning down at Wall Street at Cook Camp, and the head cooks getting ready to start their lessons. Really, really awesome. We were honored that you were able to come down and spend a day with them, and they were really excited to hear a little bit more about what you were doing in District 4. This is us at a community project, which is Boogie on the Boulevard. I don't know if anyone was there, but that was amazing. And we served an apple melt as an awesome snack for the families. We had quite a few people at our table. This is just before the attack happened. And we had a really, really awesome day. Of course, it was exciting for me to be on the Grand Concourse without any cars. That was just growing up in the Bronx in the 60s. I've never seen that before. So I was just loving the fact that we could stand out there and work with the community and give them a taste of what the students are eating in school. This is another program that we do with another project. We are working with Bronx Canasta. We work with the New York Bronx Botanical Gardens. I don't know why I forget that. I work with them on a regular basis. And they have built a garden in the Morris High School. And it's really a mini farm. Over the last 3 years, these students built this farm and garden. In the summer, the chefs that work with me volunteer their time to train the high school students to harvest their food from their farm and go out into the community gardens in their neighborhood and harvest food and do demonstrations. So this was our last day of the harvest, the picture before, and then this is us during the summer harvesting and making herb bunches, and that's our awesome team working a little bit more with the students. And just this is our last group that we just recently worked with, and they're just amazing. These students are going to be the future. They're working with us very closely with our elementary schools, and we're going to expand that program a little bit more this year. One of the things I want to leave you with is something that I always say, is that the reason I do this work is because I'd like to create a great food memory in the bodies of our students, because I know that the body heals itself, and if we give them the right nourishment to do this, they will be fine if they run into these autoimmune diseases that we're talking about, things that come through heredity, that come from malnutrition or come from the obesity. It's very important for us to understand that, medication can stabilize you, but it doesn't heal you. The body will heal itself if we give it the right nutrients. So that's pretty much what I have. And I'll open it up to you guys if you have any questions about who we are and what we do. We certainly will be here for a while after. if you have any questions, but I wanted to come here just to give you an open idea of what we're doing in the community and how we like to expand into further districts in the area. If you have any district areas that you feel that you'd like to see our program expand to. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
You're doing great work in the schools, and obviously, talking to the students about healthy eating and healthy foods and that preference around that.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about what you might be doing in terms of, in the home? Mm-hmm. So a lot of parents may feel that they don't have enough money to eat healthy, right. Or it's hard for a 6-year-old, 7-year-old to say, mm-hmm. Well, Mommy, I don't want that for breakfast. Right. It's not, they told me such and such at school.
Right.
So, addressing the mindset of I'm not wealthy enough to eat
right.
well. Can you, and then also that concept of like, if Mommy gave me,
right.
a sugary cereal and a soda for breakfast, then that's what I'm going to drink and eat.
Right.
So what would you say to that?
It's very important, as I said, training and working with the whole child. Everyone that impacts the child is very important to us. So we do have parent workshops. A lot of times we connect to those parents outside of the school, either through some of our partners. So like Bronx Health Reach, we work with Montefiore, and they also have, Montefiore has clinics in many of our schools. We work with Health First. We've been asked to come to do workshops with a lot of their community groups, and we work with the parents and we teach them a little bit more about how it is that they can get better food access. Better food access, because one of the problems is the fact that they, I tell the story that the first time I was in a school, I had parents waiting out the front of the school for me, and they were like, we want to talk to you because you have our kids eating this white broccoli and we don't eat that, and we don't understand how we're going to get it. And it was first of all, I was like, okay, you're waiting for me outside of school. I remember this from high school. This is not good, But the reality is, I took those parents, I organized them as a group, I brought in a local farm stand group, and we actually had a really great meeting about how they could get more food access outside of worrying about getting it in the supermarkets that may jack up the prices or things like that. So learning how to shop the farmers markets, which we have a lot more access to fresh fruit and vegetables, just right here in the concourse. In the summer, right here, we have a wonderful market here. We have lots of them. I have maps of markets throughout the Bronx. And so meeting with those parents, talking to them how to purchase in bulk, storing food, so that way they can store for the winter, which is not so hard and foreign to us. It's things we used to do in the past. We're just turning the clock back. Buying as a community, because some of the parents felt that, I don't want to buy 3 bunches of cilantro for $1. So I say, well, buy as a community. Is there a reason why your neighbor doesn't want a bunch of cilantro? You can go into it for $1 and actually spread it throughout people in your building. I know people need these same groceries that you're looking for. So parent workshops, we do a lot of those to help parents get access to food, for sure.
And it's actually cheaper.
Yes.
Over in the long run. Well, not even in the long run. It's cheaper.
It is cheaper.
Because the box processed food for X won't last as long and isn't as healthy as, the vegetable and creating a meal, and then you can, put some to the side for another day. And so I don't think people always...
No, they don't really know that. And I think, especially like the white broccoli, which was cauliflower, in fact, of course, teaching them how they could buy ahead of that. And if you have that picky eater in the home, but if they're eating in school certain things, you could cut something like that into 6 chunks, freeze it, and it's so easy to just put it in a microwave or throw it in a hot boiling water if you don't have, those kind of modern conveniences, and be able to cook the food. So there are a lot of workshops that we do. We do come and partner with a lot of groups for that reason. I had a list of our partners: Food Corps, Edible Schoolyard, Children's Aid Society. I do a lot of work with Children's Aid Society for that reason also. New Settlement Apartments, we do a lot of work with them in that community. We are in that school too. So there are a lot of groups that we work with to give parents updates.
This is obviously something I think a lot of parents are interested in because, obviously you want to learn how to hide the vegetables in the food, and if you have to, and sometimes you have to.
Yes.
So it's always interesting to find new things to do. Are there any other questions? Okay, here, Mr. Duck, and then Mr. Brown.
Yeah, good morning. This is fantastic hearing about that, and I love the program. I love what I'm hearing. My question to you is, the program, is it funded by the Department for Education? What does your budget look like?
We are privately funded. We're privately, and we do have many organizations. We're not government funded, but we do have many organizations that will fund us, and we do get grants throughout the year in order to be funded.
Yeah, because you mentioned that you're dealing with 95,000 students and in 190 schools that you met, which is good. How many schools in New York City are you dealing with? No. Of that?
Are in New York City? We are in New York City. We're in 190 is national, and we are right now at 175 in New York City because we are in the Bronx, we are in Brooklyn, Manhattan, and Queens.
Great. Let me just ask you: the schools that you're dealing with in the Bronx now, with this program, is currently active. Can you hear me? Can you hear me clearly?
No, not really.
No. Okay. So maybe it's a problem with me or the mic. All right. Oh, no problem at all. But let me just ask you, is there a methodology for schools that participate? In other words, do you have to go through the school leadership teams, the community education councils for the schools in New York City? Right. What is the criteria for selection and participation of those schools? Because I'm interested in it.
Absolutely. So in order to become a school that we...
Okay.
In order to be a school for wellness in the schools, we have a application on our website, wellnessintheschools.org, where the school would fill out what their needs are, because some of the schools that we are in are looking for, the leadership is looking for wellness councils, so that's where would be the beginning.
So
we would look for
the leadership of the school. So the school in and of itself has to be proactive.
Absolutely.
To apply directly. So they have to know about it, and then they got to be proactive to go online and submit the application.
Exactly. Okay. We usually have many parents and community leaders that reach out to us, and we ask them if they'd like us to come to the school. We would reach out to the principal and say, there has been an interest in us coming to your school. Are you interested in having a consulting meeting about us joining your school? We then come and meet with the leadership, usually the principal, the assistant principal, or vice principal of the school, to talk about what it is that we do and how they can prepare for us coming.
That's good. Just one last question.
That's good.
Your funding constraints, in other words, you now have, what did you say, 175 schools? I know it's 4 states, Washington, D.C., and you mentioned, you said 175 in New York City, right?
Right.
Okay. Is there any limitation on how many new schools can enroll in your program?
No, there's no limitation except for during the school year. So right at this time, we would not be signing up new programs. We would be preparing for schools for next year. So our September 2020 is what we're preparing for now. So as an example, I just recently spoke I have schools in Camden, New Jersey, and I just spoke for the Campbell's organization, who is now wants me to take over the whole city of Camden, New Jersey. So we are working on taking over every public school in that city for September 2020, which is right now 40 schools. So there isn't any really limitation other than we would like to know now, and we start to do a needs assessment for a large district like that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Johnson, fantastic program. And I'm really glad to hear that you're taking over Camden. I did volunteer work at a museum ship there for a month. So Camden could use you. I think that's fantastic.
Thank you.
2 questions, though. One is, are you wedded to delivering your services exclusively in schools? Could you deliver any services in community-based organizations? And if so, what would be the parameters for that?
Okay.
That's one question. And the other question is, one of the things that I really appreciate about the French is they treat lunch in schools as a class. And they use that opportunity of a meal to, in addition to teaching about nutrition and quality food, also use that as an opportunity to teach table manners and etiquette. And I think that that's very important, not only for the skills that it conveys, but also for the opportunity to build social cohesion and neighborliness, which I think is desperately needed and really, really valuable. So I apologize if this escaped me in your presentation, but to what extent do you have the flexibility to incorporate etiquette and table manners and being sociable at the table into your curriculum?
Okay, thank you for that question. Very easy answer to that, but I'll start with the first. You actually ask about whether or not we can work outside in community-based workshops, and we do that. Our criteria for going into outside of the school into community-based workshops would be something that it has the focus of health and wellness. So we've been asked to come to street fairs and different things, but if the focus isn't on health and wellness, it is outside the scope of what we do. So it's hard to compete with cotton candy and popcorn and things like that and we've had those circumstances, so we know that we need to stay within the landscape and challenge those communities to come up with those type of events. So that would be our limitation. We would just ask, what is the event, how many participants you're looking to have at the event, and would you be looking for a demonstration, or it's a smaller event where you're looking for a hands-on activity where we would train someone how to cook something. One of the things that we do in partnering with City Harvest is we do their Share Our Strength Cooking Matters program. That's a 6-week curriculum-based cooking program for families where they will get a book, they'll get recipes, and for 6 weeks there's a 2-hour, 1-hour nutrition and 1-hour cooking lesson that is also a meal for whoever participates in that. So that's one thing that we do as a workshop, and also in partnership with Cooking Matters. In addition to what your other question in relationship to what we do in the cafeteria, before we open up that great salad bar in our school, we do salad bar etiquette. And salad bar etiquette is one of our WITS Bits. It starts in the classroom. It's the beginning of understanding how to engage a salad bar. How much is too much? How do I share with my neighbor? How do I pick what I think I want and things I'd like to try, and then go back for more. So that's the beginning of that, and we take that to the cafeteria, and we work right at the salad bar. We're standing right there, working with the students in engaging the salad bar. We really like every one of our students to get their own food. So unless they're kindergarten and they're really, really small and they can't reach something, we have everyone getting their own food so that they can start to make those choices right then. Everything else in the school is handed to a child. We want them to engage it on their own. We do have, in addition to that, Chef Ricardo is running a long-running etiquette club that I started in a school where is that? In Andrew Cohen's district, actually. It's a PSMS 95. I started this group because my 8th grade girls were being harassed by the high school students that were in the neighborhood. And I really felt that for them to have a little more respect for themselves, that they needed to have a little bit understanding about etiquette. Because I remember having to go to charm school, but that was a long time ago. Yeah. So in the 60s, we used to have to go to charm school as part of our education. So we started it there, and then it's expanded to 5 years later, I have boys and girls. We have people come from the community leaders to speak to them. They speak to people in the neighborhood about who they are and why they are who they are, and they've taken on these different roles as lawyers and policemen and firemen, and they speak a little bit to those groups. At the end of the year, we do a lot of table setting, review, and those kind of things. How to eat properly is family style, right. And you know, it really is exciting. The school loves it. So we do that also in addition, because it is important for us to have some standards and learning. And that's where we also take a little more etiquette even through our coach program, because understanding how to properly socialize is one of the reasons why we have problems with bullying.
Sure.
Well, this is a very exciting
Thank you
program.
so much.
Thank you for sharing.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say one thing. So I just wanted to say, so I've been working with Chef Marion, Chef Kent, and Chef Ricardo, and they are fantastic. I met them in June. They're working in several schools in the district in PS53, and their work is impactful. I went to a family fun fitness on a Friday. I happened to be at the Bronx Museum of the Arts on Saturday, and this little kid comes up to me and goes, "Hi, weren't you at the event last night?" So we were talking, and they had food there, and I said, "Did you eat the food?" And he raved about the food. And when I was there, he raved about Chef Kent. So these guys they're not just there, you know, handing out recipes, they're really building relationships with the students and with the faculty. So the work they do is really important. So that was all.
Very nice, Paul. Very nice.
Thank you. And thank you for that rave review. So that would be the end of our program portion of our meeting today. I have a couple of announcements from the Borough President's Office. We, at the Borough President's Office, although Saturday marks the winter solstice, we are looking forward to summer already. And we want to encourage children and their parents to sign up for Camp Junior. I know that we all recall the tragedy around Lucandro Guzman Feliz, and better known as Junior. And out of that tragedy, a glimmer of hope into the community came this wonderful partnership with the Fresh Air Fund for Juniors Camp. It's obviously looking to expand this year and serve more students and young people. Swimming lessons, arts and crafts, leadership building, outdoor stuff, and just basic camp fun. I never got to go to camp. I'll just throw that out there. But in an effort to make sure that we are participating with this program, we want to start having families think about that and also apply for the summer program this year. And you can apply at child.freshair.org. And there's an 800 number, 800-367-003. And those are, and of course the freshair.org website is a resource in terms of finding out more information about Camp Junior. Okay. So as you guys already know, the application process for the community boards has begun. See? Yes. We'll start. Yes. Yes, I got to look over here. Yeah, he's going to tell me. So we've begun receiving applications for community board service. As you already know, I think the highest calling one may get would be to serve on a community board for the your volunteer work, and certainly it's free. So you gotta, your heart has to be in it, because you can't be in it for the paycheck. So and now, of course, as always, we're always looking to encourage 16 and 17-year-olds to apply. I think it's important, and the borough president also believes that it's very important to bring our next generation into the process. As you already know, it's a lot of information to learn. It's a lot of work to stay abreast of all the topics affecting community boards. But we want to make sure that we get as many people involved in this type of civic engagement. And so the applications will be due into our office by February 7th. And where can we get the application? The website, right on the bottom of the flyer, which is our website, Bronx Borough Pres, BROPRES.nyc.gov, and you can pick up download an application and return it to our office for consideration. We also want to mention that the Borough President and the Bronx Education Consortium invites all education leaders to learn about Reso A funding. That is actually this evening, 4:30 to 6 p.m. at Lehman College Theater and Speech Building. You may or may not be aware that the Reso A funding is the Borough President's discretionary funding in terms of for educational leaders. So if you're listening out there in TV land, please make it your business to be a part of that meeting this evening. And last but not least, the Department of City Planning's training for Bronx Community Board members, and it will be January 27th, 2020. So you got a little planning there, a little planning time at Metropolitan College campus here in the Bronx. We're happy to have them be a partner, and you'll be learning about zoning, ULERT process, environmental review work, much of the meat and potatoes that the community board does, and you'll get a bit of training on that day, January 27th, at 6:30, between 6:30 and 9. And it's a first come, first serve basis, so please, everyone get involved. And that is it for Borough President announcements, but are there any from the audience? Yes, George.
I just wanted to raise an issue. Yesterday, Mayor de Blasio unveiled Journey Home, which is his new answer, which is, I guess, on top of Turning the Tide. Community Board 12 received notice about 2 homeless shelters, transitional homeless shelters, that were going to open in our district several weeks ago. We are fighting back. My concern and my request of this board, or of the Borough President's office, is that we have a meeting with Commissioner Banks. I think that his approach is terrible, and I think it bears the burden of housing homeless people directly on the shoulders of the people of the Bronx. During the Bloomberg administration, for which I worked, cluster sites were overwhelmingly cited in the borough of the Bronx. This Journey Home is taking those cluster sites and now formalizing them. I also have a problem. The 2 shelters that we received notification on
are being put in M1 districts, which would mean that they would have to make those facilities hotels. We have an issue with that because it does not square with past statements from this administration. So I think, we need to be very observant, especially now that this administration is dwindling down and everybody's looking for what they're going to do next. I think things like what happened yesterday need to be, attention needs to be paid to it, and I think that there needs to be more of an explanation as to what's going to happen, because I think far too many communities of color are going to have to deal with this burden. Right now, the southern portion of this borough overwhelmingly deals with homelessness. They are now looking north. You have community boards in this community, in the Bronx, that have 0 shelters, absolutely none, and even fewer, and 1 or 2 cluster sites, as opposed to other community boards throughout this borough alone that have several. So I really think we need to formulate a plan, and I think we really need to get with it. Councilmember Salamanca, for example, tried to address this with legislation that this administration watered down. I think that was a mistake. So, it's really disheartening, especially to me, because I've been doing this for a very long time, as has a lot of people. And when shelters get announced, there's very little pushback from certain communities, and then there's an overwhelming pushback in other communities. And they don't get anything. And I know for a very long time, Community Board 11, Jeremy here, did not participate in these meetings because my former chairman made comments about them not having any shelters in their district. And that led to bad blood. I think we need to have a coordinated response against this, because when I raised the issue that I had 2 shelters in my district, the borough president's office said, oh, well, we got 6 letters about other homeless shelters. So you have 6 that are being targeted right now in the Bronx. And again, I think that the city has no approach, has a very poor approach, and has no strategy other than throwing tremendous amounts of money at a system that does not work.
Actually, I think that we'll have to work offline in terms of preparing some meetings around that topic. It's obviously something that concerns all community boards, and it behooves us all to participate in a conversation about that. Thank you for that comment and bringing that to the attention of the rest of the board. Well, I wouldn't say to the attention. I'm sure everyone is very aware of it, but even in that case, I think it's important for everyone to try to coalesce around some type of conventional wisdom and move forward. So thank you. Are there any other comments or questions or announcements? Yes, sir. You need a microphone. It's okay.
No, you need the microphone, but just talking to the microphone.
Mr. Abdul Khan, and the conditions we saw in that apartment were atrocious, so we dropped the list. I'm just asking that you share with your community boards, with your constituents, with the people you know, so we could hold these landlords who are treating these tenants so poorly accountable. Thank you.
And can you tell us where the list is available?
I'm sorry? Oh, it's available on our website. It should be advocate.nyc.gov, and if you need my contact information, my email is bpolanco, so POLANCO @advocate.nyc.gov, and my phone number is 212-669-7200. Again, I'm just grateful to be serving my community. So any other questions, I'll be here after the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Uh-oh. I feel like I'm getting the hook here. Oh, okay. Got it. I thought that was your hint to close the meeting. Happy holidays to everyone. And thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much for this year of productive work. And have a good rest of 2019. See you in 2020.